Hi guys, welcome to Florida.
In this episode, we've put together 4 suggestions for day trips from Miami. Some are very close, while others are a little farther away.
You will also learn how to save a lot of money on some of these trips.
There is something for everyone.
Be it action,
Relaxation.
sports or architecture.
But which is our personal favorite?
Watch the video to the end and you'll find out.
We start with the 4th place, Miami Beach.
A day trip to Miami Beach is obvious. It's just on the other side of the bridge. But what exactly awaits you here?
For us, the best reason to come to Miami Beach is the great Art Deco architecture. Of course, you can also visit the beach. But let's be honest, the beaches on the east side of Florida are much nicer and quieter. During our visit, we saw many cyclists on rental bikes from Citybike. So we wanted to try it out, but unfortunately it was a disappointment. First, for 2 bikes you need 2 separate accounts. In addition, the bike rack was defective and we could not borrow the bike at all. It was blocked in the stand, but unfortunately you only notice that after you've already paid.
But the view of Miami which you have at sunset is all the more pleasant.
Now to our 3rd place, the Everglades. The distance from Miami is about 32 miles. You can do that in less than an hour's drive by car.
The Everglades, largest subtropical wilderness in the US and home of alligators.
But this year there's an important change. Since January 1st, 2026, non-residents have to pay an extra fee of $100 per person in addition to the entrance fee if they want to enter the Everglades National Park. That's quite expensive. But there are also cheaper alternatives. We'll show you 2 of them. The first option is the Everglades Safari Park.
The park offers mainly 3 experiences: airboat tours, a staged alligator show and nature trails. With the general admission, you'll get to see all of that. Upon arrival, you'll be assigned to the next free airboat. Once everyone is aboard, we can start. Here are 2 tips on how you can enjoy your airboat ride even more. Use the hearing protection that you get at the entrance. The airboat is loud. Since the airboats are pretty large, choose a seat on the edge. That way you'll get to see more. First, the ride goes through a mangrove forest. But soon the scenery changes and the vegetation is now dominated by sawgrass. This is the typical vegetation for the Everglades. After about 10 minutes we reach a place where the guide suspects alligators. Now we have to keep an eye out. First, there are some false alarms. It's just plants or fishes that move in the water. But then we discover a first alligator. There in the water, by the sawgrass. A short time later we meet a great blue heron as well as an egret. And even an osprey can be seen.
Oh, he can fly, look at that.
The guide is always ready for a joke.
Dude, that's amazing. It looks like somebody shot right out of the sky and you can hear him go, bah. But the water's so shallow now. Sometimes
But we want to see more alligators. So let's go, the ride continues. And indeed, in another place we discover a second one. The alligator doesn't seem to care about us. He even closes his eyes as our boat gets closer. He'd rather have his peace.
So, alligator really can't stay still for up to 17 hours a day without moving the muscle.
After that, however, our 30 minutes are over and the guide quickly returns to the station. There we are already expected by another guide, who leads us through the staged alligator show. Here we get to see 2 more alligators. After the show, we want to explore the nature trail of the safari park. And we are lucky. Here we discover a baby alligator. Apart from that, you can also discover great plants from the nature trail.
The second option is to find wild alligators outside the national park site. This is even cheaper because it's totally free. We don't have to go too far. Right behind the Everglades National Park, you'll find the big Cypress National Preserve. That's where we're heading.
First, we follow Highway 41 westwards for about 12.5 miles. The highway turns right there, but we turn left. There are no signposts. But here's a picture from Google Street View of the situation at the intersection. As soon as you leave the highway, you will see a sign with the inscription Loop Road. Follow this loop road for another 3 to 4 miles. And here we are. A small river runs along this road. And if you look out the car window, you can see alligators swimming in it. Sometimes they also take a sunbath out on the shore. You really see the animals from a close range. There is no fence and hardly any other person. This is truly a unique experience. Within a few minutes we saw more alligators here than in the safari park. We clearly liked the wild sighting better than the park. In this way you have less the feeling of disturbing the animal in its habitat than if you arrive on a booming airboat. In addition, almost $50 seemed too expensive to us to see just a few alligators. Place number 2 of our favorite day trips from Miami is a little farther away. That's why this destination didn't quite make it to the top. It's the John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park.
It's time for some snorkeling action.
John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park is one of the most popular destinations for snorkeling in the Florida Keys. So we booked a 2.5-hour snorkeling tour online.
Together with about 20 guests, we will drive out about 6 miles on one of these boats.
You can either bring your own snorkeling equipment, you can rent it on site, or you can even buy it right away in the shop.
You will of course also receive an instruction.
And then off we go!
Even the drive through the mangroves up to the open water is a great experience. We booked our snorkeling tour around lunchtime. At this time of the day, the light in the water is better than in the morning or in the evening.
On our way out, as we did on our airboat tour in the Everglades, we met an osprey and other birds.
The drive to the snorkel spot takes about 40 minutes.
Once you have arrived in the open water, the captain really accelerates speed.
Full throttle. It was quite windy that day and the sea was rough.
Finally, the captain found a suitable place. So let's go to our snorkeling adventure. Because the sea was pretty rough, it was a bit tricky to take beautiful, calm video recordings of the reef. As you can see, various fish live here in the reef. In addition to smaller specimens, we've also seen some stately barracudas. However, you can also see that the reef is unfortunately quite bleached out. This is a consequence of the high water temperatures. Snorkeling is quite exhausting. After about an hour, most of the group are pretty tired. So everyone back on board, the ride continues. As you might know, John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park is located on the Florida Keys. If you're interested in other destinations on the Keys, be sure to check out our Florida Keys playlist.
We pass many fishermen and other water sports enthusiasts. You should definitely not miss the expo in the visitor center. It's very informative and well maintained.
Here's our conclusion for the John Pennekamp Park. For people on their first snorkeling trip, it's definitely a very great experience. There are also many other activities to do in the park. Fishing, kayaking, or even glass bottom boat tours. There is also a picnic area in the park, which is great. But there are also a few things you should know before you go. Don't come here for the beach. It's rather small and you will find nicer beaches elsewhere in Florida. Bleaching and dyeing of the corals is a problem. Although a lot is being done about it, it's a large-scale effort. If you want to know more about it, you can find information on the NOAA website. We put the link in the video description.
After we were about 1.5 hours away from Miami, we now go back. Because our favorite destination for a day trip is very close to Miami.
Key Biscayne is a small barrier island off the coast of Miami.
A town of the same name forms the center of the island.
There you also find a supermarket where you can buy a picnic, for example.
The lower part of the island is a state park, the Bill Becks Cape Florida State Park. Admission is $8 per vehicle.
The parking lot is in the far south.
From the parking lot, it's only a few steps to the water.
But there is no beach right here.
To get to the beach, we go east. On the way, we meet some iguanas.
After just a few minutes, we see a lighthouse.
It's the Cape Florida Lighthouse.
We decide that the beach can wait a little longer. Spontaneously, we visit the lighthouse keeper's tropical garden.
Various information boards tell the story of the place. The entire facility is very nice and in a tip-top condition.
There is really a lot to discover here. But now comes the sticking point. Pay attention to the opening hours. The grounds are open 7 days a week from 8 AM to 4 PM.
But the lighthouse will be closed on Tuesday and Wednesday.
There are no tours today.
What a We should have informed ourselves better.
There is a good website of the state park.
We put the link in the video description.
Well, let's finally go to the beach.
This beach seems to be pretty popular.
When we were there, however, we saw a large amount of sargassum and seaweed. We were also surprised by the purple flag, which points to the presence of dangerous marine life. And indeed, we found a Portuguese man of war on the beach.
We'll probably find nicer beaches in Florida.
But there is so much more to explore on Key Biscayne.
On the west coast of the island, there is a natural bay. It's called No Name Harbor.
Really?
There are 2 different cafes that invite you to linger and to watch the boats.
The first restaurant is called Boater's Grill, and the second is called The Cleat. As always, you can find the links in the video description. Here at the bay you have a great view. According to the map of the state park, you can also observe wildlife here. Since we didn't have that much time, we could only discover iguanas. We had another important appointment. We wanted to arrive at the Crandon Marina in time before sunset. Here at the northwest point of the island, you have a great view of the southern part of Miami. What a great atmosphere! Stay tuned for more Florida adventures to come soon.